Today's email comes from a woman who says, "My husband and I have been married for 6 years. He had his dog before we met and I knew they were attached, but lately I feel like I come second to the dog in every part of our marriage. We can't travel because of the dog. We leave events early because of the dog. The dog sleeps in our bed even though I've begged for some boundaries. One night I was crying after an argument and he literally stopped comforting me because the dog started whining outside the bedroom door. I finally told him I feel like I'm competing with his dog and he got defensive and said, 'My dog has always been loyal to me.' I feel guilty even saying this out loud because people act like you're evil if you complain about someone's pet. But honestly, I'm hurt. Am I overreacting?" First of all, no, I don't think you're overreacting. And before the internet starts preparing its pitchforks, let's be mature enough to understand this conversation is not about hating animals. This is about emotional priorities inside a marriage. Because once you get married, your spouse is supposed to become your primary human relationship. That does not mean you stop loving your pets. That does not mean animals suddenly become unimportant. But marriage is a covenant. It requires intentional emotional prioritization. And I think what hurts you is not really the dog itself. It's what the dog represents. The dog represents, "I don't fully have a place here. I am adjusting my needs around something that never adjusts around me. I feel emotionally secondary in my own marriage." And that pain is deeper than people realize. Especially because women are often taught to silence themselves anytime they fear sounding needy. So they tolerate things for years. They laugh things off. They try to be the cool wife. Meanwhile, resentment quietly builds underneath the surface. Now let me say this clearly. A healthy husband can deeply love his dog and still make his wife feel emotionally prioritized. Those things are not mutually exclusive. But when a wife repeatedly feels dismissed, inconvenienced, ignored, or emotionally abandoned in favor of the dog, then the issue is no longer pet ownership. The issue is relational balance. And I want people to pay attention to the moment she described. She was crying after an argument, and he interrupted comforting his wife because the dog was whining. That moment matters. Because in marriage, emotional responsiveness matters. Your spouse should not consistently feel emotionally outranked by the household pet. Now again, some people are going to hear this emotionally instead of intelligently. Nobody is saying, "Throw the dog away." That's not the conversation. The conversation is, why does this wife feel emotionally displaced in her own marriage? That's the question. And honestly, his response concerns me more than the dog itself. Because when she finally expressed her pain, he didn't respond with curiosity. He responded with defensiveness. He said, "My dog has always been loyal to me." That statement reveals something important. That tells me he interpreted her vulnerability as criticism instead of connection. Instead of hearing, "My feelings are hurt," he heard, "You're being forced to choose." Emotionally mature people understand those are not the same thing. And I think some spouses hide inside attachments that feel emotionally safer than intimacy. Because intimacy requires compromise. Marriage requires inconvenience. Real partnership requires emotional flexibility. A dog will adore you no matter what. A spouse requires emotional accountability. And some people unconsciously retreat toward the relationship that demands less growth from them. Now let's talk about the bed issue for a moment. Because I know couples who happily sleep with pets in the bed and both people love it. Great. That works for them. But in a marriage, if one spouse is consistently uncomfortable and the other spouse basically says, "Well, deal with it because the dog was here first," that is no longer about the dog. That becomes a message. And the message is, "My attachment matters more than your comfort." That creates emotional distance over time. Marriage cannot thrive where one person's discomfort is repeatedly minimized. And ladies, I want you to hear me carefully. Stop gaslighting yourselves out of your own emotional experiences. If you feel lonely in your marriage, investigate that feeling honestly. Don't immediately dismiss yourself because your husband is nice overall. A man can be loyal, hardworking, faithful, and still emotionally neglectful. People think neglect always looks dramatic. Sometimes it looks like constantly feeling emotionally unchosen in small moments. And small moments accumulate. Now, I also want to say something fair to women. If you marry someone whose entire lifestyle revolves around animals, hoping that marriage will automatically shift their priorities overnight, you may be setting yourself up for disappointment. People usually reveal their attachment patterns early. So this is not about villainizing the husband. This is about recognizing incompatibilities and communication failures before resentment poisons the marriage. But regardless, once you are married, both people have a responsibility to protect the emotional health of the relationship. The marriage itself must become the priority. And honestly, I don't think you need to keep arguing about the dog specifically. I think you need to have a deeper conversation. Not, your dog annoys me, but I don't feel emotionally important to you anymore. That is the real conversation. And his response to that conversation will tell you everything you need to know. Because healthy husbands respond with concern when their wives express emotional pain. Healthy husbands say, I didn't realize you were hurting like this. Let's work on it. Defensive husbands say, well, this is just how I am. One response builds intimacy. The other slowly destroys it. And I need women to understand this. You should not have to compete for emotional consideration in your own marriage. Not against a dog. Not against work. Not against a phone. Not against friends. Not against anything. A marriage cannot survive long-term if one person continuously feels emotionally deprioritized. Eventually the wife stops fighting. Then she stops sharing. Then she stops reaching. And many husbands don't realize the marriage is emotionally dying until she becomes emotionally detached. By then she's exhausted. So my advice to you is simple. Stop minimizing your hurt. Stop framing yourself as irrational. And stop making this solely about the dog. The real issue is emotional partnership. Have one honest, calm conversation about how unseen and emotionally displaced you feel. And then watch carefully. Does your husband respond with empathy or annoyance? Because that response will tell you whether this marriage still has room for emotional repair. And every wife deserves to feel chosen, emotionally safe, and emotionally considered in her own home. If this advice resonates, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a heart in the comment section.